So alcohol is basically a poison. Like I spoke to another neuroscientist on my podcast, and he's like, if alcohol was discovered today, it would be kept in a toxins cupboard
like
in
illegal
a lab somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yet it's the most marketed product on the planet.
Yeah.
Good as Gold's the official Gold's Gym Australia podcast.
Yo guys, welcome back to another episode of the Good as Gold's podcast. Today, we have the specialist of guests.
The most specialist. We have Cooper Chapman talking to us about so many epic things.
There's a lot of things to be touched on. For a part of his life, he was a pro surfer. Now he's this big focus on mental health and what that looks like in today's society.
Yeah, he runs a mental health organization called The Good Human Factory. He is 28 and sober. He has a podcast. He literally does it all. And we chat about this in this episode.
He's like a mindfluencer. He's like influencing the mind instead of just being an influencer.
Wow, Callum, you're good.
Okay. Anyway, cannot wait for you to hear this episode.
Let's go.
Proudly supported by Raw Energy, cafe partner for Gold's Gym Australia.
Welcome in, Cooper. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to have a chat and get to know you guys a bit better and hopefully learn my story a bit better too.
Absolutely. Well, before we kind of dig into the nitty gritty, tell us exactly in a quick little snapshot who you are.
Oh, who's Cooper Chapman? I'm a kind and caring person trying to live a positive life and make as many people around me have a positive life as well.
That's an epic answer.
So you're probably expecting I'm a pro surfer who owns a mental health organization. I learned how to answer that question a lot better in the last couple of years.
Which I rate that answer that you gave.
No, it's like I like that that's the answer first rather than being like, well, I'm this. Yeah. You're like, actually, I'm a really bloody kind person. Because
like beyond being a pro surfer, you're much more than that. And I think a lot of people are more than what their titles are.
Yeah.
So it goes deeper.
Yeah.
Well, let's quickly touch on the pro surfing side of things. Let's get that completely out of the way because I know there's the good nitty gritty stuff we both want to kind of get into. Summarize your surfing career. Are you still surfing? Where did it start? Where'd you get to? And what's in the future?
Yeah, I still surf. Not as much as I definitely used to. I mean, I still competed a few months ago on the World Qualifying Series, like the regional tour. But I mean, I've been a professional surfer since I was 13 years old. I got my first sponsor when I was 10 years old. So I've been surfing for a very long time, almost 20 years now.
Oh
and
God.
Yeah, I've loved every moment of it. I've got to travel the world. I've represented Australia. I won an Australian title when I was 14 years old over at Margaret River in Western Australia, which allowed me to compete at World Games when I was 14 years old in Ecuador and wear the green and gold, which was pretty exciting. And then through high school, got to represent Australia 3 more times in Peru, Panama, and New Zealand. So I had quite a successful junior career and was ranked in that sort of top 1 to 3 Australian surfers up until I was about 21, and then progressed on to what we call the World Qualifying Series. And for the last 8 years I've traveled the world chasing the dream of qualifying for the World Tour, which is the top 30 in the world. I haven't quite got to that level, which for a while I was quite disappointed and felt like I'd underachieved, but I've really started to reflect the last 2 years and be like, I've traveled the world surfing for 10 years. I've won. And I got close to qualifying for the World Tour. My highest ranking on our qualifying tour was 23rd, I think, and the top 12 end up getting on. So technically that means I was rated about 50th in the world. So probably my highest ranking, but I've been rated within sort of the top 150 on the planet for the last 10 to 12 years. So my surf career has been amazing. I've got to travel the world, experience amazing cultures, see amazing places. And the best thing is just create such a deep network of amazing people from all different parts of the world, which I'm so grateful for.
Absolutely. And I love that. And I just like being 10 years old, getting your first sponsorship, what was going through your mind? Because at 10 years old, I can't imagine it. What was it like?
I mean, it was pretty cool. I had like a weird, like 2 sponsors. I had like a sponsor that was like a family friend who owned this thing called Planet X, this company years and years ago. And they just kind of gave me some stickers and let me get some clothes from them. But then when I think I was 11, I got sponsored by Rip Curl because I started having quite a bit of success in Grom comps in
Amazing.
surfing. We call them Grom comps, where we have under 12s, 14s and 16s. And I was always a very athletic kid. I played a lot of rugby and did nippers and spent a lot of time in the ocean. And yeah, I took to surfing quite quickly and had quite a lot of success in that 12s, 14s division. So yeah, I got sponsored by Rip Curl, I think when I was 11. And I was sponsored by them until I was 16. And then once I won my Australian title, I went across and rode for Hurley for 7-8 years, I think it was. And then, yeah, for the last 3-4 years of my career, didn't have a major sponsor because the surf industry is getting pretty difficult. But yeah, super excited to chat about the rest of my story because everyone usually talks about the surfing. But like I said at the start, there's a lot more to me than my surf.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, let's jump forward into your company that you have founded, which is the Good Human Factory.
Yeah.
What is that?
Yeah, so the Good Human Factory is my mental health organization. I run mental health workshops and keynote speaking for high schools, corporate groups, conferences, sporting clubs, and just try and change the way we think about mental health. And I'll explain why mental health is so important to me. So when I was quite young, I lost an uncle to suicide, and then I'd watch my dad suffer from mental illness, a bit of depression and anxiety throughout my teen years, and always kind of had this thought and this idea that mental health might be something that I need to put as something that's very important to me, because it might be something that comes up in my life. And I was always very acutely aware that I needed to take care of my mental health, and began to develop skills from sort of my late teen, early 20 years, purely because I thought I'd need them throughout my life. And then when my younger sister, about 3 years ago now, in 2019, I think it was in her last year of high school, she came home and she said she lost a friend to suicide, which nobody likes to hear, and we hear it all too often in our days. And that was hard for me to hear, and I was like we all do, what can I do about this? And like most of us do, I was like, there's not much I can do about it. 2 weeks went by and she said another friend, and then 2 weeks went by and she came home and another friend had taken his life. And that was kind of just a pin drop for me. And I was like, you know what, I need to do something about this. And I started to look into the statistics behind mental health here in Australia, and understood the problem that we do have, and was like, you know what, maybe I can make a difference to 1 or 2 or 10 people's lives. So I developed a bit of a workshop and tied together all the skills and the learnings that I'd had through my surf career, through my own research and a few little courses I'd done over the years, and developed a workshop and took it to my old high school that I went to and spoke to a little group of kids. And looking back, it was terrible, the workshop that I did, but we all have to start somewhere. So for the last 2 years, I've kind of really been doing it a bit more full time. The first year I was working 50 hours a week as a tradie to fund my next surf comp and get around the world, and then trying to build the Good Human Factory. So it was just like a little side project. But then when COVID hit, I really got to push a bit harder with it. All my surf comps got cancelled with COVID, and it allowed me to focus a lot more energy on it. And over the last 2 years, it's definitely grown quite a bit. The last 3 to 6 months has definitely taken off quite a lot more than I'd always expected it to. I'm very passionate about it. The workshop is getting amazing response. My podcast is beginning to do some really cool numbers and get some great feedback. That the way that I communicate mental health is having an effect on people. And my main messaging is that mental health is not mental illness. So often we hear the word mental health and straight away we go anxiety, depression, suicide, which I believe is completely wrong. Mental illness is something that 20% of people in Australia statistically are going to be diagnosed with. So it's obviously a very important topic, but mental health is something that 100% of us have. Yeah. And it's something that even if you don't have any mental health issues or mental illness issues, we should all still be doing different things and having different skills in place. And that's, what I try and teach in my workshop and with the content I put out too.
That's incredible. So where do you want to see the Good Human Factory go to, and what, do you think Australia needs to take more of a step into mental health awareness, all of that side of things? Where do you think we need to shift to?
I mean, I think we are definitely, it's an interesting one, because this whole raising awareness is so important. And there's so many great organizations out there focusing on the mental illness side of it. But that's why I'm so passionate about just trying to challenge the way people think about mental health. I think the way that we speak about it in the media, the way that we're so often talked about it is a negative, but mental health is no different to if you say physical health, people think, oh, positive, someone's fit. And if you say financial health, people go, oh, that means that person's got money. But if you say mental health, it means somebody has a problem.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to really make people realize, hey, mental health is something we all have and we should be empowered to take care of it. If we have good mental health, our life's better. We all know that if we have a great relationship with our thoughts and what's going up in our mind, then life's pretty happy. So I'm just trying to encourage people to develop those really small skills. But yeah, there's a lot of work to be done. I think there's a lot of great work being done, but the way I see it is 95% of the industry is focused on mental illness. So I'm just trying to push on that bit of a niche market that is, the sort of holistic well-being side of it.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that. And Callum and I, we both run like group programs with, it's called Steps, and it's like a community group program that, in our specific, like what we actually work with is people with mental health struggles and mental health problems. So like we can definitely relate with everything you're saying. What exactly, where should every Australian start when it comes to how to kind of like work with their mental health and just actually be
like take ownership of it?
Yeah, like even just day to day, like what do you suggest?
I think it starts with curiosity. For me, the idea of having an open mind and realizing that life is about continually growing.
Yeah.
If we're stagnant in one place and we think we know everything already and we think we're at the happiest we can ever be, then life's going to be pretty boring. So for me, it starts with curiosity. If you're in a place right now where you're not completely happy and satisfied, look for some resources that might improve your life, whether it be reading self-development books and trying to find little tricks and tips, or reading autobiographies and documentaries and watching how people have found kind of their why and found their way to live a happy, fulfilled life. And just be, always on that open-minded growth journey of trying to be better. And for me, that's like my podcast is, for me, that's my biggest asset is having conversations with really smart people, way smarter than me, or people who have just got really incredible stories and learning from them. I feel like we can, always be getting better and always learning. But I mean, there's a lot of great places you can start. Like I said, reading books, looking up content that's positive, or checking out what I do with the Good Human Factory, the Resilience Project. There's so many great resources out there, but it takes curiosity and it takes a bit of responsibility looking for what's out there.
Yeah, I saw you interviewed Hugh from the Resilience Project. That would have been so cool. And it's like that there is this part, like do you think the stigma behind like, having a mental health issue or even like you said, we all have mental health that we need to look after. So do you think that there's like a stigma behind if you had a mental health illness or even just like have mental health like issues or problems?
I mean, there's definitely the stigma is such a like weird word. It's like this, as soon as anyone brings it up, it's like this taboo topic.
But it is, hey.
That's why I think, it's just like the language I think needs to be changed. I think we need to have like a mental illness industry and a mental health industry.
What determines the difference? Like, what do you believe determines the difference?
Well, mental illness is just once you've been diagnosed with something. And the thing is, we're all on a spectrum. From mental health to mental illness, we're all on a spectrum and we all fluctuate every single day.
Yep.
And for me, the definition of good mental health is your ability to move yourself back up that scale, to move yourself back up the spectrum when life inevitably throws a difficult situation at you, whether it be a family member passing away, whether it be a relationship breakup, whether it be a financial struggle. Good mental health is the ability to bounce back. And we do that through leaning on resources like talking to friends, like using great mental illness organizations. But what I try and encourage people to do is develop daily habits, to have a maintenance plan in place, to not wait until you get to that poor end of the spectrum. And then, like, the way I look at it is like, if you're out in the ocean, instead of just throwing someone a life raft to save them, like, let's teach people how to swim.
Yeah.
Let's teach people how to build the skills so that they're not waiting until they get to that poor end of the spectrum. And like the things I talk about in my workshop and in my offerings is developing strong values, because and I'll give you this story. This will make a lot of sense why I answered the first question like I did. So when I was in my junior career of my surfing, I used to base my whole identity and my self-worth on my surfing. I was Cooper Chapman, the pro surfer.
Yes.
So when I was successful in my junior career, as we kind of are all on this roller coaster of well-being, we have our good days and bad days. I was kind of only feeling these real happy days and fulfilled when I was winning surf comps.
Yeah.
Because I'd go to my local beach and I'd be chatting to all the old boys down there, and I'd be like, "Oh, pat me on the back, well done, mate! Like you've won that comp." So my whole identity was wrapped around this. And then I got into my early 20s, and I went from the junior tour to the international tour opens, and I wasn't having as much success, and I was really struggling. I was not aligning with my kind of hopes and dreams of success. So I was really struggling. I felt like because my identity was so wrapped in my pro surf career, if I wasn't successful, I was really struggling. I then went on to speak to my sports psychologist and told him how I was feeling. I was like, I'm really struggling. He's like, mate, it's so common to most people base their self-worth and their identity around their career, their achievements, if they get promotions, if they're winning sport. But he said it's a very unhealthy way to live because we're going to come up short all the time. We're not going to always achieve our goals. So he said, I want you to start trying to base your self-worth and your identity on how well you can live to your values. So that's why I answered the first question like I did, because now I just try and live to my values. And that way, if I fail at something and I know I've given it 100%, that's okay. So the 5 values that I go on to talk about now that I try and encourage people to either pick up mine or at least be open-minded to find their own values and live to them. So the 5 I talk about are responsibility is the first one. And obviously taking responsibility is the first step. So many people are in this victim mindset. It's not my fault. It's somebody else's fault while I'm not succeeding. And quite often it is somebody else's fault, or there is circumstances that are out of our control. But once we can try to flip our mindset to being the hero of our story, like, do you want to write the movie or do you want to watch the movie? It's like trying to make sure that we have that awareness that if we can take responsibility for our mental health, it's going to be in a better place than if we just let our circumstances dictate that. So I start with the responsibility, and then I talk about gratitude. Gratitude's something that for me is so important. I know if I'm practicing gratitude every day and focusing on the good things in my life, then the chemicals in my brain are changing. There's so much great science out there showing that gratitude releases serotonin and oxytocin in our brain, which are neuromodulators to make us happy. And it also helps with neuroplasticity, and quite literally is making our brain happier. There's so much great science out there that shows this. We're not getting taught this at school. It's because it's free. Nobody's making money out of gratitude. So it's an interesting one. So I encourage people, try and practice gratitude every day. It doesn't need to be writing thing in a notebook. What I say to people is when you brush your teeth every single night, because it's a habit that we all do, think about what you're grateful for that day. What went well? You might have had a meal that you really enjoyed. You might have had a conversation with someone. The shower pressure in your shower might have been good. It doesn't have to be anything massive. It's just about trying to find little things that were good in your day. Yeah. And then the third thing I talk about is empathy and the importance of realizing we're all so different. When we can build empathy as a really important value, it gives us perspective that when we're going through a hard time, not to compare, but going like, oh, other people have got it really difficult too. And realizing that we're all different. We've all grown up differently. We've all gone through a completely different journey to get to the present moment. And we need to, be accepting of that of other people if we want them to be accepting of us when we have our flaws. I then talk about mindfulness and meditation as, obviously meditation as a practice is so powerful. For anyone who doesn't do it, please go and check it out. It's the same thing. The amount of data and science that shows people who are happy, people who are calm, people who are in good mental health meditate is astounding. So I really practice that and just encourage people. We need to take time every day to be mindful. If we're not taking time to check in with ourselves and work out what's going on up here, we're slowly slipping down that mental health spectrum without us realizing until it's too late, when we do need to use those great resources. So I encourage people, be curious, try and learn about mindfulness. And then the 5th value that I talk about is kindness. And kindness is, I mean, we all know what kindness is, but I never got taught about the science behind it until I started to research it myself. It took some responsibility to find it. And like, there's so many great data studies that show people who are willing to give, do acts of service, be nice to people, rate higher on happiness tests. So I just think, just try and share with people, hey, if you're living to these sort of values, and they don't have to be specifically those 5, But living to values, then you can find purpose in every single day rather than just being wrapped around your achievements in your successes at work or your career or anything. So that's in a bit of a gist, the sort of angle that I talk about all my stuff.
I love that last one that you said, because I listened to your podcast and you mentioned on, I think it was on gratitude and paying someone a compliment, and it makes the person feel good, but it makes you feel good too.
Yeah.
Like you're offering that compliment makes you feel good. Talking about like your 5 steps, like I know what our mental health exercises look like per se. Like we both do meditation.
Yeah.
I know Em journals. I go to the gym and work out, and I do sit down for 2 minutes and I listen to this song and I just breathe and do like box breathing ultimately. What are your mental health exercises look like? What do you do daily?
What's your daily practices?
Yeah, I would love to know that.
You've lined me up perfectly for this one. For my business. So what I've kind of got in my head now is like, I want to give at least 1% of my day to my mental health. 1% of your day is 14 minutes. Pretty simple. Everyone listening right now hopefully can agree. You know what? Mental health is the biggest killer for people aged 14 to 44 in Australia. It's pretty important.
Yeah.
So we should be able to give 1% of our day to it. Just like we get told you should do 30 minutes of exercise today. You should eat healthy. 1% for your mental health. So the way I break it down for me and my community that I've built now is 10 minutes of meditation in the morning to calm myself, to give myself that gap from reacting to situations that happen in my day, and then 4 minutes of gratitude at night.
Yeah.
So I started a thing called the 1% Good Club with the Good Human Factory, where every single morning on Instagram, I have these accountability groups where in the morning I send a guided 10-minute meditation to everyone. I think there's like 28 groups now, like over 900 members.
Wow.
And it's completely free.
Massive.
I just do it every morning. I do it to keep myself accountable.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I'm this mental health, like meditation and gratitude guy. And I knew I wasn't doing it every day.
Yeah.
So I was like, I knew I'd done some like group work and learned the sort of data behind that. You're like 90% more likely to stick to a new habit if you have an accountability group.
Yeah.
100%.
So I was like, all right, let's make an accountability group that I can do a guided meditation in the morning. That way I do it because I have to send it to everyone else.
Yeah.
And then I also do the 3 things I'm grateful for at night. And then I send it to everyone and then they write their 3 things. So that started 423 days ago. And yeah, it grew from like 30 members the first day when I just put it on my Instagram story to now there's over 900 people. Every week there's like close to 3,000 gratitudes written in by the members. And it's just
That's
like
so good.
helping, it's assisting people create that just 1% of their day.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but we all get so distracted and get so consumed in what's
life.
happening in life, which is, so it's like, just try and give yourself that 1%.
You're literally changing people's lives.
Yeah, honestly. It's
Thanks.
Literally, like it's so cool.
It's changed my life. Like
Yeah.
I have these weird feelings every day where I'm like, well, I feel guilty that I'm in this like such a happy mindset that I've got a business that is becoming very profitable by just helping people.
Yeah.
And it's like everywhere else you look, it's like people are trying to like cut corners, or people are just trying to work for trade time for money. And I'm like, I don't know, I just feel like I'm like escaping the matrix, and to do it in a way that I can really benefit other people. And just my whole thing is, if I just continue to learn and I continue to find new things that help me, then I can just communicate it with people who might not have that dedication to find stuff. I just want to be kind of the middleman of good information through conversations on my podcast, through reading multiple books. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah. Well, speaking of podcasts, let's chat about your podcast. You talk about, so you have a podcast that's 28 and Sober.
Yep.
You speak about your sobriety journey. Can you give us a little insight as to kind of like how your sobriety journey kind of began?
Yeah, so it actually started from another podcast. So I had a lady called Nicole Vignola on my podcast, who's a neuroscientist from over in the UK. Mm-hmm. I think she was episode 44 for me back in April. And my birthday, I was turning 28 in May. And I was chatting to her about the effects of everything on the brain, from drugs, alcohol, exercise, nutrition. And one of the topics that I was interested in was what's happening in our brain when we drink alcohol. And she went on to explain to me that there's a lot of science coming out now. And Andrew Huberman has a podcast that came out recently that's incredible and very confronting and eye-opening, but pretty much shows that if you're like a chronic alcohol drinker, is someone who has a minimum of 7 drinks a week, which was something that I was doing every single week, whether it be like 3 beers on a Friday and 3 or 4 on a Saturday. Like I think most Australians have most people I know have
it's pretty
7
popular.
drinks, but have a chronic drinking problem. Not a problem, but anyway. So there's a lot of science out there now showing that neurodegeneration can happen does happen if you're having that much. So our long-term brain health is being affected by drinking. And so alcohol is basically a poison. Like I spoke to another neuroscientist on my podcast, and he's like, if alcohol was discovered today, it would be kept in a toxins cupboard
like
in
illegal
a lab somewhere.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yet it's the most marketed product on the planet.
Yeah.
So basically, after speaking to Nicole and learning about some of this science, I was just like, you know what? I'm turning 28. I've been drinking from 18, 15, as I'll say 18, but been drinking for a long time. Yeah. So I was like, 10 years of drinking, surely I can give myself a year off.
Yeah.
If I can't take a year off, then for one, I don't have the discipline, but for two, it means alcohol's in control.
Yeah.
I don't have control. I love this quote from Jocko Willink, a Navy SEAL from the States, that says, discipline equals freedom.
Yeah.
So, and the way when you break that down and really think about it, it's like, if you don't have the discipline to say no to something, then you're not free. You're at the mercy of what that substance is, whatever it is, whether it be on your phone, whether it be anything. If you don't have the discipline to say no to something, it's just as important as the discipline to go and do something.
It's like drinking is like just
massive
in our culture and society. It's ridiculous. But the thing that irks me is, like, if you were to be out in a setting and you would offer me a beer and I was to say no, you'd probably be like, that's cool. So many people will be like, what are you're not drinking?
Yeah.
And you've got a problem. But if you were to be like, oh man, can I talk to you about my mental health? Be like, what are you, like, depressed or something? It's just like, it's so backwards.
I think it's like, I do believe
it. Is it because we're just not educated?
But I think it's changing as well. I truly do believe that it's starting, like, things are starting to change for us. But, like, growing up, like, we're all roughly the same age, and it's like, when we were 18, like, the thing that we did on our 18th birthday was go to the club and drink.
Go. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Like,
but we don't ever get taught about, like, maybe at school, I can't even remember learning about
But even
alcohol.
did we? Yeah, exactly.
Oh, like, you guys have to go and listen to this podcast with Andrew Huberman. Like, I think it came out like a week or two ago, but it's around alcohol and the effects of it. And he just goes into, like, really depth, like, what's happening when we drink. Like,
yeah, cool.
Basically, he says how bad it is. And yeah, it's like, how can we escape that? Is just like, being confident enough in yourself. And like you said, like, I still go out all the time and just don't drink or like have a Red Bull, which is probably just as bad. But I'm like learning that, whenever anyone goes to me like, oh, come on, mate, have a drink. It's like such a reflection on themselves knowing that they can't not have a drink.
Exactly.
I'm like, I'm happy. And anyone who doesn't support it isn't a good friend, because you're making a positive decision for your health.
Yeah.
If somebody tries to pressure you into having a drink, then that's them discounting your health for their social enjoyment.
Yes, exactly. And I think, like, what are some tips for anyone? Because, like, I've heard this term, right? It's like sober curious, where they're like curious about becoming sober, or they're starting to like slow up on their drinking, or
they know it's wrong, but they're just like, but it's like a social thing. Like, I'm a chippy, and the boys, we hit a slab every Friday.
Yeah, but it like hurts them. What advice would you give for anyone that's either looking to start to kind of like get curious about becoming sober?
I think just get educated.
Yeah.
Like, ignorance is bliss for most people when it comes to alcohol.
Yes.
They don't really know that it's okay, but just look into it. Like, I'm definitely going to drink again. Don't get me wrong. I'm a part owner of an alcohol company. I'm a part owner of Gravity Seltzer, and we do a non-alc seltzer as well, which is great. But just trying to just make healthier options.
Yeah.
Like with drinking seltzer, for instance, is like low calories, not as high alcohol contents, just one standard drink rather than you're like 1.4 in a beer. And just try to be conscious of how many days, like I was like, how many years have I woken up on a Sunday?
Hungover as shit.
Hungover and wasted the Sunday, and then Monday still not being back to 100%. And you just get caught in this spiral. And I'm just like, if that happens for 2 days of your life for 15 years, you're wasting like years of your life on not wasting, because like But yeah, I'm just trying to find the balance. Being
Yeah,
able to
exactly.
Go out and still enjoy
Exactly.
myself. But I think the main thing is just like, if you're going out every weekend, just try and alternate. Go, you know what, one weekend I'm going to focus on catching up with friends and doing stuff that's a bit healthier, whether it be taking up a new hobby or
Yeah.
going out and, and doing something at night that doesn't involve drinking, because almost everything we do involves drinking. I've learned that very quickly, but it's been cool. I've got a great group of friends around me who are super supportive of it, and like a lot of my friends are big DJs, and I still go and like watch them and stay out at night and have a good time, but I drive home and I get to wake up and feel good the next day.
And I think that's it, like with alcohol or like drinking in general, it's not to say like you can't still go out. It's not to say you can't hang out with your mates until 2 a.m. if you really want. Like,
or have a wine for dinner or something. Like,
yeah.
Like that's what I miss. That's what I miss, just having a wine for dinner. And like, but
just
I'm
having
just
one
doing
drink and
this for a
going
challenge. Yeah, that's what I'm just doing for myself. I'm just trying to challenge myself because, I think it's been a cool journey. And I guess if anyone wants to learn more about it, go back to the first podcast episode. I do an episode, 28 and Sober, every Monday, and I just chat about what experiences I had that week where I felt like I missed out.
Yes.
Like, but everything else around my life has benefited from it. Not to say it's directly from it, but ever since May, my business has like month in, month out, like 2x, and like the last 2 months have just even like gone crazy.
I
So
honestly,
it's like everything else around my life since that has gotten so much better. But I don't want to say it's directly because of that, because hey, it could have still been. But I mean, I definitely think just even that extra day of being able to get stuff that's valuable done is super helpful.
And I think even like on that as well, like the whole anxiety kind of thing, it does directly correlate with our mental health. So it's like, I mean, there's
because it doesn't just end like you're hungover, say Saturday or Sunday. It goes through to like Wednesday.
And the older you get, that's exactly what it feels like.
And then you check your bank account on a Sunday morning. You're like, oh shit, I spent that much money. It's like,
who did I talk to last night?
Slapped the 20 in the pokies, didn't get it again. The red back. Yeah.
It's just like, but I don't think it's like demonizing alcohol.
No.
I just think it's building better habits around it. Going like, hey, you know what? Instead of having a bender every weekend, maybe I'll just do one a month. And just starting to slowly become healthier, like we all should be. Like I said at the start, I'm just about trying to always get better.
And I think like what you said, like it's a habit to drink, and it's like habitual, just like it's Saturday, I guess I drink. Like, do you think even people like masking it, you know how people just like they have an issue, but like alcohol's they're deregulated, like they're stressed out after a big day and they're like, oh, I'm just going to stop by the bottle and get a 6-pack. Like if they, for example, what you were saying before, they had like some sort of, meditation, or like they're like, maybe I'll breathe. Like me simply doing like a box breathing or like diaphragmatic breathing for 2 minutes, I like flatten out. I feel like I'm floating on water. I'm like,
I can breathe again. I can see again.
I'm on Earth. I'm back down. And even like if I just bring I love what you said with that spectrum. You're bringing yourself back to like baseline to a point, right? Like you're leveling yourself out. I think a lot of people could probably like check themselves before they wreck themselves.
Wow.
Well, that's the thing. For most people, it's an escape, which is really sad that people are trying to escape
their reality.
Life. And it takes time to get your mind and your body healthy. Like you guys know, as trainers, like you're not going to just go to the gym and do one sit up and get a 6-pack. It's like mental health ain't going to just go really good because you do one meditation or because you have one night off. It's about changing your lifestyle and changing the values that you live by to start like steering your ship in a little bit of a different direction.
So you interview guests on your podcast as well. Who would be your dream podcast guest if you could have anyone on?
I got asked this question the other day. To be honest, I actually don't have like, oh my God, I really want that person. Like people just, it's starting to happen so naturally that I'm just like excited to like continually grow. But actually this one, I'll say this person, one of my favorite books is this book called Lost Connections by a guy called Johan Hari. And it's just all about mental health and how I don't want to go into pharmaceutical chat, but anyway, just about how it's the tagline is like why you're depressed and how to find hope. And it goes on to show that there's so much more than this serotonin imbalance that we've been marketed from the media and the pharmaceutical companies, which is now all being proven wrong, which is just ridiculous. But he goes on to talk about you can't expect your mental health to be good if you go and Like if you go to a doctor and say, "Hey, I'm really struggling with my mental health," and they go, "Here you go, take this pill, it'll
Yeah.
fix it."
Yeah.
If you're like physical health, you're not taking care of. If you're
Yeah.
not eating right, if
Yeah.
you're not sleeping right, is your relationships in order? Is your finances in order?
Yeah.
If you don't tick those 5 boxes first, then your mental health is going to be shit no matter what.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, but so many people think, oh, it's like because of, yeah, like I've got something wrong with me. It's like, well, but develop habits. And I don't want to discount because there definitely is some people that have
Of
mental
course.
health issues that aren't in that spectrum that
Yeah.
I talk about, this sort of 80%. But I feel like so many people make excuses before they try and actually get anything right in their life.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Your answer kind of.
Sorry, I forgot where I remember where that question came from. So yeah, I'd love to chat to Johan Hari. He's been on Hugh Van. Well, my dream guest was Hugh Van Cuylenberg, who I had on a few weeks
Yes.
ago, who I've now become good friends with, which is awesome. But yeah, as I continue to grow, I'll just continue to get more people. I really like speaking to like doctors and scientists. Like I love how like Joe Rogan does his. He's
Yep.
sort of what I love, just talking to people with different views, different opinions, and just learning from people. Like I'm just fascinated getting to know people's stories and why they think the way they do. And then if there's value in something that I can take from it, it's amazing. And then it's awesome that I record it and other people listen to it and get value out of it too.
Exactly. It's like the best of both worlds.
Absolutely.
You're like a gold miner. You're just digging for gold from every other person, every guest you interview, taking little pockets, and then you're sharing that with everyone. I think that's super
Yeah,
cool.
no gatekeeping here.
Well, yeah, I'm just like, that's why I feel like having an open mind is a superpower. So many people hear a bit of information that they're skeptical on and just say like, oh, no. Where it's like, well, look into it a bit more. Be curious. What might happen if you take on that mindset a little bit? Try it for a week. Like exactly like the alcohol thing. What might happen if you take a month off alcohol?
Yeah.
You never know if you don't try
find
it.
out. Yeah.
But so many people aren't willing to try it because they're like, oh, no, but I got to go catch up with, like the biggest thing I hear when people are like, oh, I'm going to try to do a month sober, but I've got a wedding this month, so I'll do it next month. It's like, you're always going to have stuff on.
There's never going to be a perfect time.
Exactly.
And I think it's cool because like even with podcasts, it's so good because the fact that you can talk to different people that other people can relate to, like, you know, for example, you'll get maybe the surf crew listening to you because they can relate to you, but you had like Jackson Tippett on and like a big tattooed bodybuilder bros listening to him. They're like, oh yeah. And then they listen to you and they're like, damn, this guy's got some knowledge. Like, let's implement that. That's why I think it's this giant whirlpool of knowledge. On that, if you could tell the world anything, the world is listening right now, like everyone in the world, what is it that you would say?
Be kind.
Yeah.
It's so simple. If you're nice to like, and be kind without expecting stuff in return.
Yes.
So often people do something nice for someone and then they don't get something in return. And then that makes them go, well, I'm not going to do something nice for anyone else now. It's like, do something kind because it makes you feel good, not because you get something in return.
Yeah.
Realize that kindness isn't a transaction. Kindness is a value that you should try and live by.
Damn.
He's got some juice.
This guy's good.
This guy's good. This guy knows what he's talking about. God.
I kind of got goosebumps then. I was like, it isn't transactional.
Seriously. Okay, well, before we wrap everything up, we've got...
Do we have to go?
I know. It's like, can we keep going? Like, please.
Okay. Yeah.
You can chat as long as you like. You guys have got more guests to get on.
Yeah, normally what we do is we play a little fast five at the very end. So whatever comes to mind, just blurt it out. Yeah, exactly. The first one is, if you could live anywhere in the world, where would it be?
The Gold Coast.
I knew you were going to say that. I actually knew you were going to say that. I knew it. I was like...
People always say to me, would you go overseas? I can't see myself living overseas. The logistics and the admin is just... seems too much.
Too hard. Too hard.
Too hard basket. Who is your hero? Who's someone you look up to? Who's your hero?
My dad.
Love that.
Good answer.
Learn a lot from him. I use my dad's analogies and quotes and story throughout my whole business. And yeah, he's my hero.
I love it. What's your karaoke song?
Bohemian Rhapsody.
Wow. Have you got a little bit for us?
That's a long song.
I'm not a singer. I'm definitely not. I'm not a artist on that way. I'll leave the music to
Okay, we'll let you go with that.
What's your guilty pleasure?
Oh, my guilty pleasure. I do eat a lot of chocolate. So,
I knew it. I
you gonna
literally
say
had it in my head that you were going to say
all right,
chocolate.
what's his favorite chocolate? 3, 2, 1.
Cadbury. Okay, if can we talk Cadbury Block of Choc?
Okay, block
Yeah.
of choc.
Is
Yeah,
hazelnut
Cadbury,
for sure.
close, like marble, like the Gullian one.
Oh.
The tasting one.
Damn.
Wow. Okay.
Wow, we're
Well
quite in
done.
tune. Thank you.
It's like,
We've just got something. Last one is first celebrity crush.
oh, first celebrity crush.
Surely it was what's her name from Blue Crush. You know the blondie?
Yes.
Blake. No, not Blake.
No, what was her name?
I'm looking at my producer right now.
Yeah,
Come on.
and he's not got anything. Kate Bosworth? No.
Kate.
Was it Kate Bosworth?
It's Kate Bosworth.
First celebrity crush. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
Or current
I can't even.
celebrity crush?
Yeah.
I don't know. I usually don't get stumped, but this is really stumping.
You're going to be thinking about this all day now.
Maybe like Mila Kunis back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Good choice.
Yeah,
What's
like-
yours?
My celebrity crush.
Well, first celebrity crush.
My first celebrity crush.
It's a hard question.
It is a hard question.
Like, I'm trying to think back to young Cooper because young Cooper's so different to today.
To now, yeah.
Yeah. I think I was so immature though. Like it would have just been be like, because she's like blonde and
Yeah, exactly.
Tanned or something.
something like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, the classic. Yeah, but I
think
think,
mine
I'm
would have
more
been like-
sophisticated.
Mine would have been like Chad Michael Murray or something,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
back in the day. Or
I loved the Catherine Zeta-Jones at one point. Like just classic Catherine Zeta-Jones.
interesting.
Anyway,
Who knew we were going to finish on celebrity crush
I did
chat?
not know that. But Cooper, thank you so much for being on. That was, like I said, we could be chatting forever. Direct us to where we can find you on the grams, the socials,
All the things.
the plugs. Tell us where to find you.
Yeah, I guess you can find me on Instagram just at Cooper Chapman. Same on TikTok. My TikTok's kind of blowing up. That's where I share a lot of my podcasts, little excerpts with video as well. And then if you want to find the Good Human Factory, it's literally just at the Good Human Factory on Instagram. If you want to join that 1% accountability group and get a free meditation and gratitude little group of people around you, just send at the Good Human Factory direct message on Instagram and I'll add you in. It's completely free, always will be. thegoodhumanfactory.com is a website if you want to learn more about my workshops that I do for schools, sport clubs, corporate groups.
Yeah.
Also we have merch on the website, which is really cool, just trying to use positive messaging to spread awareness. And just Good Humans with Cooper Chapman podcast on all the podcast platforms is where you can find the podcast. But thanks so much for having me, guys. It's been a really fun chat.
Thank you. I'm going to join that 1% club.
Yeah, I'm doing it after this.
Same. I'm messaging. So you'll be getting a message from both of us.
All right, awesome.
Thank you so much.
Have the best day.
Thanks so much, guys.
Be kind.
Good as gold. Gooder as golder.